Okay, so the next thing you would probably want to do is make your sprites and then add them to the screen of your game. So, so you do this by coming up with names that you're going to reference for your sprites. So I think I called mine in this game like red airplane and blue airplane. So once you come up with a name, which is essentially a variable name, you say that name equals, and then you call the make sprite method, and you supply a an image file. So I think mine were called like red airplane dot gif or something along those lines. Okay, and then what you want to do is add it to the screen. Now, in this game, the position of the your sprites is going to make a big difference as far as being able to detect if somebody has won and to be able to move the sprite across the screen. So what you should probably do, and what you definitely should do, is make variables that you're going to use as the x and y coordinates so that you can change those variables and values of those variables in when the game loop is running, and then that will and then move your sprite to the location of whatever the value of those variables are. So I'm going to make like red x equals 100, and then maybe red y equals 100. So that would now I'm ready to put my airplane sprite in the world, or in the screen, on the screen, I should say. So there's a couple things you have to do. You have to first call the show sprite method, and then you give it the name of your sprite. Okay, and then the next thing you need to do is move the sprite to where you want it to be. So you do that by calling, let's see, the move sprite method. So, or function, or whatever you want to call it. I still haven't completely learned the jargon for functions, methods, procedures in Python yet, so sometimes I'll say methods, sometimes I'll say functions. In Java, they're all methods, so you have to forgive me if I'm using the wrong term. I'm still kind of a new to Python programming myself. Okay, so I'm going to call move sprite, and then I'm going to supply the name of my sprite, and then I'm going to provide coordinates. So my coordinates are going to be my variables where I'm storing the current value of the coordinates. Okay, so that's how I create a sprite. I created one named red airplane. I made two variables that are going to store the pixel coordinates of my sprite. I call the show sprite method, and then I call the move sprite method. And in each of those calls, I supply the name of my sprite, and then for move sprite, I supply the location in pixel coordinates. So, and I'm going to use the variables that I designated for that purpose, and that's going to add my sprite to the screen and position them in the starting position for the game. So obviously for the button bashing game, you would repeat this for your other sprite. All right, and now in the button bashing game, our sprites move linearly. So you may say, well, why do I need a variable for the y coordinate? Well, there can be many times where you call move sprite, and let's say that you want to start your game with your sprite, you want to tinker around with it to make it visually appealing and look balanced. Well, there may be times where you want to change that value for every time this is called, okay, which could be at various times in your program. Well, since it's a variable, all you have to do is change it one time, and then it'll automatically be changed everywhere else in your program. So that's why you still want to make a variable for the y coordinate, even though your sprite in this game is just moving from left to right, so the y coordinate isn't really changing. It's just more efficient to make a variable for it, so that then if you want to, have the game start with him somewhere else, you just need to change the value of that variable once. It'll automatically be changed everywhere else. Otherwise, if you supplied a number and for like red Y, and there are multiple places in my code where I'm moving the sprite, I'd have to go and search for that number and find every spot where that number exists and change it to the new value, which is very time consuming. Okay, so that's the reason you still want to make a variable for the y coordinate as well.